Let's get into a top 40 extra, an obscure record, Lost 45 off my fantasy playlist, June 4th, 1984. Let's get off the top 40. Let's get into the real deal. These obscure, well, not all of them obscure. Now, some of these records on these top 40 extras will make top 40 on my fantasy playlist. Whisper to a Scream by Icicle Works. Yes, New Wave, baby. And Dance Hall Days by Wayne Chung. That's going to be on my fantasy playlist top 40. What is Love by Howard Jones? Yes, indeed. That will be, I'm sure, top 40. Stuck on You by Lionel Richie is a top 40 extra. But all these be in the top 40 eventually on my fantasy playlist. But the song I want to talk to you about, though, it was a rock hit. It was not a big top 40 hit. Top 40 extra on my fantasy playlist. Where the devil is that record at? I know I got it on here somewhere. Orion the Hunter. So You Ran. Orion the Hunter, and picked up some information about them on a website, and also picked up a little information on the YouTube comments beneath the video, which I will supply the link. And boy, they did some. Sometimes I tell you on these YouTube comments, man, I tell you, these people they can do some nice review on records. And well, let's go into this record. Orion the Hunter, So You Ran. Now, this band was an offshoot, was basically an offshoot of Boston. Two members of Boston, Brad Delp on backing vocals, the guy who sang lead on the More Than a Feeling. God, what a vocalist, Brad Delp. Although I never was a real big Boston fan, but gosh, that guy has some killer vocals. And guitarist Barry Goodroll, I believe is how you got the pronunciation off a website. Barry Goodroll. I believe is how you pronounce his last name. Bruce Smith on bass, and you got Michael DeRosier, drummer with heart, or an ex-drummer with heart. Now, on this record, a guy named Fran Cosmo sings lead, and he later became a member of Boston in the 90s. But a YouTube comment I saw reflected that Fran Cosmo sounds like Mickey Thomas of the Starship, and I kind of agree. If anything, now on this record, think of, well, Jefferson Starship comes to mind, Triumph, Journey, Rainbow, maybe Queen's Reich on some of their records. And I'm also thinking of When the Heart Rules the Mind by GTR back in the spring of 1986. That was a good one. And a Giant, See You in My Dreams or something like that, that comes to mind. Damn Yankees. I mean, all of these groups kind of come to mind on this record, Orion Hunter. Known originally as Orion, but Orion Pictures said no. You're infringing. Got to change that name. So they went with Orion the Hunter and came out with their debut self-titled album off the Portrait CBS record label. And the album went to number 57 on Billboard's Top 200 album charts. So You Ran was just a classic 80s rock and roll record, man. Check out Barry Godrol's, I can't pronounce his last name, but Godreau or whatever, maybe it's Godreau. Check out his searing guitar solos, man. You look at him, watch him as he plays. I mean, he's holding his guitar up. It's like, man, the guy's like a master. He's like he's enjoying himself, just showing off, saying, hey, man, watch me play. I can play my ass off. Enjoy. Yes, indeed, man. He's killing it. Well, anyway, now here's another thing. Oh, but did I say the single itself, top 10 on rock radio, did well on rock radio. It's just a classic rock and roll record. Only got as high as number 58, though, on Billboard's Hot 100. Probably saw this video on Night Tracks on WTBS, no doubt about it. Probably played it in medium or light rotation. They just played all these great obscure videos along with the top 10s and the top 20s. Now, well, I'll be a monkey's uncle on this. I found out that Barry Goodrow and Brad Delp, they formed another band when they were taking some time off from Boston or whatever. They formed a band called RTC. Does anybody remember the group RTC? C like the last letter of the alphabet. they had this. They came out with an album. They came out with this fabulous song, "Face the Music," towards the latter part of 1991, and then they had their top 40 hit, "Until Your Love Comes Around." Remember that song, "Until Your Love Comes Around"? Back around, I think, around the spring of 1992, maybe early 1992. But that was a top 30 on Billboard's Hot 100. Man, I didn't know those two guys formed that group RTC. Yes, indeed. Boston just shooting out all over the place. Well, we got Frank Cosmo. I think I've already mentioned that he later became lead vocalist with Boston later on in the 90s. All right, back to Orion the Hunter with what was the name of the record? Bear with me, folks. So You Ran. Yes, So You Ran, a top 40 extra on this fancy playlist. June the 4th, 1984.